Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to rank all of the palettes that I used in the month of September. So I'm actually uploading this a little bit later than normal, but I had a lot of videos to catch up on in the beginning of October just because we hit a new quarter, so I need to do all of the quarterly updates, like the 50 makeup items that I want to pan, all the pans that I hit, all of the eyeshadows I finished, all of that kind of stuff. So this one's coming in a little bit later than normal, but I'm still excited to share with you the palettes that I have been working on and the ones that I used in the month of September. But before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So we're going to start off with the palette that has the least amount of uses, of course, going up to the most used palette. So if you're new to this, kind of wrap up the ranking, how I count uses is basically if every shade that I reach for. So if I go to a palette and I reach for 5 shades, that's 5 uses. If I go into a palette for 5 different days and use 1 shade, that's still 5 uses, and so on. I think it's just more fair because sometimes I only reach for like 1 shade, especially due to like on my planning projects and stuff like that. So that is how I'm calculating my uses. And we're going to start off with the bottom palette, which is my Pallados Club Nebula palette. This one comes in with 2 uses. And it looks like this. This was in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project last month, well, in the month of August, so I reached for it then, but I did have the shade right here, Celestial, still in the project, so I used that one twice in the month of September, which is why this one appeared in here, and so that is where the 2 uses come from. Then in second last place, which is place number 11, we have my Beauty Bay Wilderness palette, which I rolled into my Panos eyeshadows, and I reached for this palette 3 times, and I reached for this shade here, Eucalyptus, all 3 times because that is what I wrote in. This palette is in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project this month, so month of October, so this one is going to get a lot of love this month, both because I have it in that project, including Sandals pan, and I also have Eucalyptus still in that Panos Eyeshadows project, so this one is probably going to get a lot of love in the next month, and I've expected to rank pretty high when I do my October ranking. Another palette with 3 uses is my Gold Obsessions palette from Huda Beauty. I'm currently trying to pan 1 shade in here, which is this one right here. So that is the one that I reached for. I do believe I reached for this one twice and this one once actually. But I'm mainly focusing on this one. I just want to reach for that one too to get no pan left behind on this one, which is very easy because there's only 2 shades in here. There was 3 at the beginning of the year though, so yeah. But this one, of course, no pan left behind it, but I'm going to continue using this shade, and I'm expecting quite a high number on this one because it is one that I want to focus on in the next coming weeks. So we're stepping up usage from 3 to 4, and the one coming in place number 9 is my Odin's Eye Red Dragon palette in collaboration with Judy. So I have reached for this palette a couple times. So 4 of the uses came from the month of September, and the shade that I reached for then was Jade, which I had in Panos eyeshadows, but I have it pan as you can see. So this one is out of that project. However, this is a palette that I still need to reach for this year and in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project. So I'm expecting to again get some more use out of this palette, but we're just gonna see when I get around to it. So we're jumping quite a lot for the next spot. We're going from 4 uses to 9 uses, and the 9 uses come from this Pat McGrath palette right here, which is the Utopian Dreams palette, which is a really stunning palette. It looks like this. This one was also in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project in August, so I used it there, but I didn't have a couple shades left for no palette behind, which is what I used in September. On top of that, I also have 2 different shades in different projects. I have this one in my Panos eyeshadows and this right here in my Deco Panning. So yeah, this palette is going to continue getting some love, especially in those 2 shades, because I have now reached for every single shade and done 3 looks with it in that project, in Big Fat Eyeshadow project. So yeah, most of the uses now I think is going to come from these 2 shades, but I'm still expecting to rank quite high in maybe both October and November. In spot number 7, we have this palette, which is another one of our Big Fat Eyeshadow project palettes in the month of September, and this one is the Nabla Dreamy palette, which is a really pretty, like, everyday type of palette. It looks like this on the inside. So I used this one 10 times in the month of September, so 10 uses. I have reached for this one already in October. I had, I think, 1 look left to make with this one, or yeah, 1 or 2. So I do have some uses on this one in October too, so this one is going to reappear, and I don't expect it's going to rank very high though, because again I did like I think 1 look with this palette, and I also need to reach for Inception here. So to be fair, it might still come in around like a similar amount of users, maybe not 10 but maybe like 8 or so, but we'll see at the end of October. But again, it is going to appear next month, and overall it's going to get more uses than the 10 that I have now. In spot number 6 we have a palette that has 16 uses, and that palette is my Yucca palette from Natasha Denona. This is one of my newest palettes in my collection. I got this one from my friend for my 30th birthday, which actually happens in November, but she didn't pass it on to me until June, because we didn't see each other for ages, and when we did she kept forgetting to bring it. But anyway, this is the palette right here. It's a really beautiful color story, and I reached for this one again in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project. It was a really fun palette to reach for, and I'm glad that I finally got to play around with this one. And like I said, this one I reached for 16 times. There's 15 shades in here, and I reached for majority of these in those 2 looks. I think I did not reach for Calafia and Illusion, so that would be 14. So I must have reached for 2 shades twice. And if I remember correctly, I believe it's this one, Platecia and Ixia, I think, right? No, Fushi, sorry, this one right here. I think those are the 2. But yeah, I can't remember fully, but you can check out my Big Fat Eyeshadow project if you want to know exactly where all of the uses came from. So we're moving from 16 to 17 uses, and place number 5, and there this palette right here comes, which is my Norvina palette. This one also was in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project in the month of August, but I remember doing, I believe, maybe even all 3 of the looks, if not 2 of the looks, at the very beginning of September, which is why this one comes in here. I also have Volatile right here in my Expandos pans, and I still have, I think, 2 uses left on that one, so it's gonna again appear in my October usage, but I don't think it's gonna score very high. I think I'm just gonna complete those uses on Volatile and move on from this palette, because I have used this one a decent amount this year. I hit pan on Celestial in my Panos eyeshadows. I obviously did my looks with this palette, and it's already quite well loved, so I'm fine putting this one away after I reach for Volatile. But again, it's gonna at least reappear a little bit in October. So in spot number 4 we have another Anastasia palette, and this one is the Subculture palette, which if you aren't new to my channel, you already know hopefully that this is not what the original Subculture palette looks like. It looks like this. This is actually my kind of creation, and it's a mix between Subculture and the Jackie Aina palette, and it created this beautiful kind of autumnal color story, which you can see right here. And this one I did reach for 19 times in the past month, in the month of September, because I did do 3 looks with this one for my Big Fat Eyeshadow project. And I also have one of the shades in Expandos pans, which was the shade Untamed. So this one I reached for 5 times, and then I reached for the rest of the palette too, and that overall totals up for the 19 uses. I can't remember what shades I reached for exactly and which ones I reached for more than once, but Untamed slash, like, I mean, it's actually trust issues right here, I reached for that one at least 5 times, I know. And then the rest of the palette you can check out again my Big Fat Eyeshadow project if you want to know exactly how I used it and what looks I created with it, because I did feature this one in that video, which I believe is the video I would have posted yesterday, so you can check it out then. So we are coming to my top 3 palettes, and in number 3 we have 26 uses, which is pretty good, I would say. And the palette coming in 3rd place is this one right here, which is my Metropolis palette. This one was also in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, so I'd reached for a lot of shades in there. It looks like this. And also I did have Queen right here in Expandos pans, so I reached for that one 5 times. So this one got a lot of love. I do still have a couple of shades left to reach for in here, maybe like 7, 8 to complete No Pan Left Behind, which is something I do try to do with most of my palettes this year, if not all. So I'm probably going to reach out to this one again in the month of October, so it's going to reappear again, but it's not going to score as high as 3rd place for sure, because once I complete an open Left Behind on this one, I'm probably going to put my focus away from this palette for now and focus on like Panda palette and stuff like that, because I really do need to step up my usage game on those. But I'm happy that I got some use out of this palette. It's not like as loved as I would want it to be. It's definitely starting to become like, you know, a few disturbances and a few dips here and there, but I do really wish that I had more use of this palette, because it is such a beautiful one and I've had it around for a couple of years now. So we have come to the top 2 palettes, which is usually always a battle between my Pan palette and my Product Level Up palette, and it's always kind of, you know, a toss-up kind of which one is top and which one is 2nd place. And this time around for 2nd place we do have my Soft Glam palette, which is my Panda palette. I'm going to show you the inside, so if you haven't seen my last update for Panda palette, you check that out now, even though it has been a couple days, so I have used this palette a little bit since. But this is what the palette looks like. It is a really loved palette. It does look like it still has a lot of product, but this shade here, this shade here, and this shade here are Franken, so those are technically done, and they're very thin as well, so I should be able to get those out quickly. But yeah, overall, I haven't been using this palette as much as I used to, or like as I did in the beginning of the year, just because I have finished up, I guess, the most easy shades, and I also have been focusing on other things. So that's one of the reasons why this one isn't at the top place, and also because the product level up palette that I have to share with you is my product level up level 5 palette, which means that it's bound to get a lot of uses anyway. So this one comes in place number 2, and it has 35 uses in the month of September. So for place number 1, we have this palette right here, which is my Love Nose palette from Beauty Bay, and this is my product level up level 5 palette. I'm not going to show you the inside because my update tomorrow will actually be my product level up update, so you can check it out there, because I don't want to give you any spoilers of what the palette looks like on the inside. But this one is my number 1 palette for the month of September, and I used this one 39 times, so actually very close to my Soft Glam palette. This one again came in at 35 and this one 39, so there's only 4 uses between them two, so I use them a lot. Yeah, so I'm really happy that I've used this palette so much, and I have been able to get some good progress on it for my product level up update, which again will go up tomorrow, so you can check that out there. But that is also the last palette that I'm going to talk about today, and that is my ranking for the palettes in September. In total for September, I reached for 12 different palettes, and of course I ranged between like 2 and 39 uses depending on the palette. So it's not my best month, but I'm still happy. I'm happy that I'm kind of getting used across a lot of different palettes rather than like super high uses on certain palettes, even though I do wish I had some more use on my Soft Glam palette in particular, because we are getting towards the end of the year and I wish I had some more shades done in here. But I'm still hopeful that I can finish a decent amount of shades. Yeah, I'm really gonna try to hone in on this palette quite a bit in October and try to get as much use out of it as I can. And then maybe do the same for November and December and see how far I can get. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and let me know what your most used palette was in the month of September. I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.